In the 3rd year after Liam Callahan died to save me, I still jolted awake from that gut-wrenching car crash. His car, a beat-up Ford, had been a loyal knight, its steel body shielding my Porsche beneath it. The doctor's voice was flat when he announced the death, telling me he lost all will to live. Later, in his pathetically small rental, I found his old laptop. Inside an encrypted folder was a single document. When I opened it, I saw a log of how, for the past several years, he had transferred every sponsorship payment from my father to his childhood sweetheart, Chloe Miller. And on the final page there was just one cold line of text. Avalon Hayes, you are my biggest regret. I am Avalon. So, when God absurdly returned me to the age of 17, the first thing I did was tear up the agreement that had just been signed and placed before Liam. The 17-year-old boy, wearing a school uniform washed so much it had faded to white, quietly watched the pieces of paper flutter down like snow. After a long moment, a corner of his mouth quirked up, his eyes holding a familiar, ice-cold sarcasm. What's this? Has Miss Hayes finally realized that buying just the 10 years after my graduation isn't enough to satisfy your possessiveness? My mind was still a mess. The move I'd just made was almost pure instinct. 10 years isn't enough. So 20, 30, or a lifetime. Seeing me just staring at him, lost in thought, a flash of understanding crossed Liam's eyes. He picked up the pen on the table again with a familiar indifference. Is the new agreement ready? I have to work at the restaurant this afternoon, and I can't be late. His expression was as calm as if he were discussing the weather. I blurted out, there is no new agreement. The moment the words left my mouth, I realized how parched my throat was. After licking my dry lips, I fell back into old habits, ordering, Liam, I'm thirsty. In the 3 years we were married in my past life, he'd taken care of me meticulously, almost to a pathological degree. But as soon as the words were out, I met his dark eyes, which held a hint of mockery, and was jolted back to reality. The man before me wasn't the Liam from a few years later, the one who had learned to wear a mask, the one I had tamed. My throat tightened. I tried to explain, that's not what I meant. So you found a new way to toy with me. He seemed long accustomed to my capriciousness. He got up and walked to the water cooler in the break area. He hesitated for a moment, but still filled a cup with warm water. It doesn't matter if you want to change the terms of the agreement. Don't worry, I'll do what I promised, Mr. Hayes. The knuckles of the hand holding the cup were prominent, the skin rough from years of manual labor. When my fingertips accidentally brushed against his, he recoiled as if shocked, snatching his hand back. That small movement made my nose sting. I quickly hid my reddening eyes by lowering my head to take a sip of water. Liam was truly a man of his word. Even later, when my father's company faced a crisis and he single-handedly saved it, he never once thought of tearing up that grossly unfair agreement. Even during the car crash, his first instinct was to shield me tightly with his own body. The doctors said he had no will to live. And so, this man with no will to live had long ago drawn up a will, leaving all of his assets to me. Liam was perfect in every way, except one, he didn't love me. Fortunately, I had a chance to do it all over again. There is no new agreement, I said, putting down the cup and repeating each word carefully. I will never force you to sign anything again. A dead silence fell. Liam stared at me for a long time, then his expression shifted to one of dawning, cynical realization. He took a bank card from his pocket and placed it in front of me. This is the advance from your father. I haven't touched a cent of it. That's not what I meant. I said, panicked, and grabbed his hand. I knew what this money meant to Liam. A gambling-addicted father, a gravely ill grandfather, and a childhood sweetheart who needed support. In my past life, I had used all of that to force him into signing a 10-year contract that was no better than indentured servitude. You can take my father's money, and we can sign an agreement. A normal investment agreement, I mean. My father will fund your education. You can choose to work for the Hayes Group after graduation, or you can pay it back when you're able to. But I don't need you by my side all the time anymore. And I won't force you to like me anymore. By the end, my vision had started to blur. I kept my head down, not realizing my grip on Liam's hand was getting tighter and tighter, until his icy voice reminded me, your hand. Ha! I looked up, confused. Before I could react, the surprise in Liam's eyes had already vanished, replaced by a dead emptiness. He coolly pulled his hand away. Miss Hayes, what kind of act are you putting on this time? Or are you trying to ruin my last stable part-time job, so I'll have no choice but to keep following you around like a dog? Staring at the tips of his ears, which were red with anger, I opened my mouth but was too dejected to say anything. Because he was right. I had done all of those things before. I fell in love with Liam Callahan at first sight. So, when I happened to find out he was applying to the same university as his childhood sweetheart, Chloe, I panicked. I used that agreement, in the crudest way possible, to try and tie him to my side. I've always been like that, bossy and possessive, convinced that with enough time, even a stone heart could be warmed. But it wasn't until he died that I saw the last line of that encrypted document. It was still the same sentence. You are my biggest regret. I won't do that again. Why should I believe you? Because I took a deep breath, as if it took all my strength. Don't like you anymore. The moment the words left my mouth, the tightness in my chest seemed to ease. I forced a smile that looked worse than crying and said, with the utmost seriousness, Liam, I'm not going to like you anymore, and I won't force you into anything again. Liam looked at me, his eyes churning with emotions I couldn't read. He didn't say another word until we left my father's office. He probably still didn't believe me. He left the bank card behind. After thinking it over, I took the card and went to my father. After repeatedly assuring him I wasn't playing some new hard-to-get game, my father agreed to unconditionally sponsor Liam's education in the company's name. But he had one condition. He wanted to talk to Liam himself first. I breathed a sigh of relief. For the next few days, I forced myself to stop looking for Liam. Our honors class and the regular classes were in different buildings anyway, so it was perfectly normal for us not to cross paths all day. To outsiders, though, it just looked like I was deliberately distancing myself from him. Even my cousin, Leo, couldn't resist coming over to gossip. Give me the scoop, my dear cousin. What are you planning to do to that Liam kid next? His eyes gleamed with a look that said he was hoping for chaos. I shot him a look. Nothing. Something's wrong. This is really wrong. Leo's expression turned strange. He slung an arm around my neck and lowered his voice. Before, whenever I even mentioned Liam, your eyes would light up like a pair of flashlights. Now you look like a wilted flower. Did that kid do something to you? His tone grew fierce by the end. He didn't do anything. I just figured things out. I pushed Leo's arm away, but I had the sharp sense that a heavy gaze had fallen on me. But when I looked around, I didn't see anyone out of the ordinary. What's wrong? Leo leaned in again, then paused, rubbing the back of his neck. Why do I suddenly feel a chill down my spine? Wait, what did you say you figured out? I don't like Liam anymore. Oh, you don't like Lee. You don't like him anymore. His voice shot up. Leo Vance. Just as I was wondering how to shut Leo's big mouth, a voice I knew down to my bones came from behind us. I didn't turn around, but my body went rigid. Leo braced a hand on my shoulder to peek around me. Yeah? What do you want? He said, annoyed. A cold gaze swept over Leo's hand on my shoulder, then quickly retracted. Liam, holding a stack of workbooks, said without expression, Miss Chung wants to see you in her office. The color drained from Leo's face. He hastily tossed out a, let's walk home together after school before shamelessly abandoning me. But Liam didn't move. His unhurried gaze landed on my face. This was the first time we had properly met since that day. Worried he'd misunderstand and think I was still hung up on him, I turned to leave without hesitation. Ava! I left in such a hurry that I didn't hear the half-syllable he bit off. His Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed the rest of her name. The look he cast on my retreating back grew darker, more inscrutable. I had thought that this time, Liam and I would go our separate ways, like two parallel lines. But I never expected he would agree to tutor me. The reason was simple, relayed to me by my father. Mr. Hayes said your academic foundation is very poor, so the tutoring fee he's paying is especially generous. Liam placed the test papers he'd brought on my desk and lifted his gaze. Didn't you say you were going to stop pestering me and start studying seriously? I was speechless and a little indignant. Then why is it you? It took everything I had just to start getting used to a life without him. I really need the money. Liam looked at me calmly. Compared to other jobs, tutoring you lets me review the material again. Mr. Hayes also said he found other tutors for you before, but you didn't like any of them. If my tutoring is ineffective, or if you really can't accept me being the one, he'll fire me immediately. As soon as he said that, I deflated like a popped balloon. I knew Liam was always working part-time jobs off campus, spinning like a top without a break. In my past life, after I saw him collapse from anemia and exhaustion, I used some very aggressive tactics to sabotage several of his jobs. I had offered to have him tutor me back then, too, but he refused without hesitation. Yet now he'd agreed. So, was my affection truly such a heavy burden to him? My heart gave a familiar pang of pain before finally settling. I pulled out my chair, deliberately sitting a little farther from him, and mumbled, "Let's just get started. First, a placement test." He pushed the papers in front of me, his voice a little lower than usual. I said no more and buried my head in the test. The room fell silent, with only the sound of our soft breathing. I forced myself to calm down. Just then, Liam stood up and moved behind me. A clean, almost biting scent of soap instantly filled my senses, enveloping me. The hand gripping my pen froze. I was uncontrollably reminded of my past life. After we were married, Liam was always cool and distant, except in moments of intimacy, when he would show a rare fierceness and dominance. His warm breath would ghost across the side of my neck as he nibbled at the soft flesh there, but he would always reach up and cover my eyes. From beginning to end, I could never see his face. Looking back now, he probably just didn't want to see mine. Lost in thought, I unconsciously chewed on the end of my pen. Suddenly, a hand with a prominent wrist bone entered my field of vision. Liam tapped the desk, his expression blank. "This multiple-choice question you put D?" "Me." I lowered my head in shame and corrected it. Somehow, I managed to stumble through the rest of the test, guessing my way to the end, before nervously handing it over. Liam glanced over it, his brow furrowing almost imperceptibly. Feeling guilty, I turned my head away. Just then, my phone vibrated. Liam was looking down, grading the test. I glanced over, then turned my back to him and secretly opened the message. It was from Leo. He texted excitedly, "It's all taken care of. Have you thought about what you're getting me as a thank you gift?" "Me, what thank you gift? What did you take care of? Leo, what have you done now?" My heart leaped into my throat. I suddenly remembered what happened a few days ago. Leo never believed that I was over Liam, and I couldn't be bothered to explain. I just figured time would prove everything. But the truth was, when I saw Chloe walking beside Liam in the school hallway, her smile shy, I couldn't help but stare. I knew Chloe was different to Liam. He liked peace and quiet, yet he could tolerate her chattering nonstop in his ear. She was his only friend at school. They'd even promised to go to the same college. Yet I had still stolen Liam away, by any means necessary. Maybe they were talking about something interesting, because Chloe tugged on Liam's sleeve and gave it a little shake, like she was being playful. But the moment she saw me, she froze, her face turning pale as she hid behind Liam. Looking at Chloe, who seemed as fragile as a flower, I was inexplicably reminded of my past life. At Liam's funeral, Chloe had shown up with a crowd to cause a scene, tearfully accusing me of being the one who truly killed him. She used her status as his torn-apart first love to incite a wave of online hate, trying to force me to give up Liam's inheritance. In the end, it took me producing the records of huge money transfers from Liam's computer to expose Chloe's hypocritical true colors. 4 years, she had been shamelessly bleeding him dry. At the realization, I subconsciously frowned and couldn't stop myself from taking a few steps forward. "Can I help you?" A cold, distant voice pulled me back to my senses. Liam watched me calmly. His eyes flickered to Leo beside me before he subtly moved to stand in front of Chloe. I opened my mouth, but it took a long moment before I could quietly say, "It's nothing." I suddenly realized that Liam would never believe a word I said, especially not in front of the Chloe he was so determined to protect. The thought sent a sharp pang through my chest. Just then, Leo nudged my shoulder and gave me a conspiratorial look. "Don't you worry, little cuz. Leave it to me," he said, patting his chest confidently. I had no idea what he meant at the time and didn't think much of it. But remembering it now, a sense of unease grew stronger. Leo sent another voice message. I was about to have it transcribed to text when Liam's voice sounded from behind me. What are you doing? I jumped, fumbling to turn off my phone, but I accidentally hit play instead. The next second, Leo's exaggerated voice boomed through the silent study. Guess who I saw? Chloe. She's working at that same restaurant. But don't you worry, Ava. I already got the manager to fire Liam. I've completely cut off any chance of them seeing each other. From now on, he'll have no choice but to revolve around you. The phone was gently plucked from my hand. Liam looked down, his expression unreadable. My heart turned to ash as I listened to the triumphant tale and of Leo's message echo in the room. I tried to explain. I didn't ask him to do that. But my voice trailed off. The room fell into a dead silence. So this is what you meant. The phone made a soft clink as he set it on the desk. Liam took half a step back. When you said you wouldn't force me anymore, he said quietly. I knew he had misunderstood again. So I took a deep breath and met his gaze head-on. Believe it or not, I didn't ask Leo to do any of this. In fact, if I'd known beforehand, I would have done everything in my power to stop him. His dark lashes lowered, hiding his eyes. Liam said nothing. I spoke again. He must have misunderstood something. But either way, he did it because of me, so I'll apologize on his behalf. As for any damages, I can cover those for him. On his behalf! A ripple disturbed the calm surface of his eyes. A humorless smile touched Liam's lips. Quite the loyal friend, aren't you, Miss Hayes? I froze. After 3 years of marriage, I knew this was a sign he was getting angry. Just as I was about to speak, Liam looked away. He stepped back to where he'd been standing and picked up the half-graded exam. Your fundamentals are weak. We'll start with the basics. I frowned. Aren't we going to talk about what Leo did? This tutoring session is charged by the hour. We've already wasted 7 minutes. I can either make up the time at the end or refund you for it. Liam was all business, his expression cold. I've accepted Mr. Hayes's money, so this is my job. Rest assured, I won't bring any personal feelings into my work. And I'm not. He paused, his eyes dimming for a fraction of a second. The kind of person who quits halfway through. His voice was so quiet that a sudden knock at the door drowned out the end of his sentence. It was one of the housekeepers, bringing a plate of fruit. I took the fruit plate, and after closing the door, I turned to him. What did you just say? Nothing. Liam was already back to normal. He opened the textbook without looking up. Let's continue. Half a month later, almost everyone knew I'd given up on Liam. Leo muttered that I'd finally seen the light and beat his chest, swearing he'd introduce me to a man 1,000 times better than Liam. But before he could make a move, he was ready to disown me. Because when the new monthly exam scores came out, I'd beaten him by a full 100 points. Leo held my report card like he'd seen a ghost. After a long moment, he let out a whimper. Ava, how could you abandon me too? Seeing his wounded expression, I patted his shoulder and said earnestly, if you don't start trying, Maya's going to like you even less. It was only much later that I learned Leo had a secret crush on my deskmate and best friend, Maya Chen. At the mention of her name, Leo immediately sucked back his tears and blustered. Who would like that bookworm? But a moment later, he secretly pulled out a small mirror to check his reflection, then turned to me and asked uncertainly, Am I really that bad? I didn't say anything, just asked Maya to send her report card over. The sight of her scores completely deflated Leo. Then, like he'd been shot full of adrenaline, he declared he was going to start studying seriously. I finally breathed a sigh of relief. At least he'd stop pestering me about why I suddenly didn't like Liam anymore. I never expected Chloe to approach me the next day. Her purpose was nothing short of absurd. She was asking me to get back together with Liam. What did you just say? I thought I'd misheard her. I know you still have feelings for Liam, Chloe said with conviction. Otherwise, you wouldn't have had Leo sabotage his job. Now that Liam's unemployed, he'll have to rely on you even more. Rely. The word Chloe used made me frown in discomfort. Seeing that I hadn't responded, Chloe took it as a tacit agreement. She bit her lip, then dropped a bombshell with a look of feigned injury. Actually, Liam only sees me as a little sister. You probably don't know, but I used to have an older brother. He died saving Liam, and Liam promised him he'd take care of me. But I know that I'm not interested in your relationship. I cut her off, feigning impatience to hide my shock. I added a cold sneer. Liam walks around with a sour face all day. What kind of masochist would I have to be to stay hung up on him? Besides, I've already said it. I really don't like him anymore. The sound of approaching footsteps stopped. Chloe's expression shifted. The next second, right in front of me, she missed a step and fell down the stairs. It was a hard fall. I clearly saw her face twist in pain. And Liam, of course, just happened to appear at the top of the stairs. Liam. Chloe's eyes reddened, her voice choked with tears. It has nothing to do with Avalon. I just fell by accident. I couldn't be bothered with her clumsy act. My eyes were fixed on Liam. How much had he seen? How much had he heard? Did he apologize? His cool voice was sharp as a knife. I was in disbelief. Apologize? A flash of triumph crossed Chloe's eyes, but she still said, "This really has nothing to do with Avalon. Liam, you don't have to force her to apologize for my sake." Hearing her words, I could barely contain the rage boiling in my chest. All the mistrust I'd faced after being reborn, the guilt I tried to atone for, the constant fear, it all erupted in that moment. Why did I have to keep swallowing my pride? I laughed, furious. "Liam, are you out of your mind? Why should I?" I was about to walk down and make the accusation true, but my anger was instantly doused by Liam's next words. "Apologize to Avalon? Apologize to me?" I froze. Now it was Chloe's turn to be in disbelief. "And me? Apologize?" "Liam, what are you talking about?" she said, anxiously reaching for his hand. "She's the one who pushed me. I'm not an idiot." Liam sidestepped her hand. His voice was deep and cold, with an authority that left no room for argument. "And she wouldn't be stupid enough to do something to you in a crowded stairwell. Chloe, this isn't the first time." That last sentence was laced with clear disappointment. Chloe fell silent. She lowered her head, her loose hair hiding the dark expression on her face. "Liam. Yeah. You believe me? Yeah." Another silence fell. I couldn't help but feel a little guilty. Then Liam spoke again. "She's slandering you because of me. I'll apologize to you on her behalf." "What gives you the right to apologize for her?" The words flew out of my mouth. But as soon as I said them, I had a vague sense that this conversation felt familiar. The faintest hint of a smile flickered in Liam's eyes before it was swallowed by darkness. He bent down to help Chloe up, but she violently slapped his hand away. In the end, Chloe limped away on her own, and Liam followed her in silence. I watched their retreating backs, thinking about what Chloe had said. I used to have an older brother. He died saving Liam. Liam promised him he'd take care of me. I never knew any of that, not even in my past life. For some reason, the records of large money transfers I'd seen on his computer suddenly flashed in my mind. My chest felt heavy, as if a great stone was weighing it down. And then came a sudden, inexplicable panic. "Leo." Just then, Leo came looking for me. I grabbed his arm, my voice urgent. "I need you to do me a favor." I had to find out why Chloe came to persuade us to get back together. Leo was incredibly well-connected, and he agreed on the spot. I thought the investigation would take some time, but I never expected Chloe to slip up and expose herself first. When Leo came to see me on Saturday afternoon, his expression was terrifyingly grim. He threw a voice recorder on my desk, almost in disgust. It took him a long moment before he managed to grit out, "I seriously want to just call the cops." After a burst of static, Chloe's impatient voice came through. How was I supposed to know they'd suddenly break up? That Avalon Hayes was so into Liam before. Every time I got near him, she looked like she could die from jealousy. I really thought she was head over heels for him. Just goes to show, rich people are all so fickle. The moment they lose interest, they're done. It's completely messed up my plan. And Liam, that loser. I thought he could string that heiress along for a while longer, maybe even get some more money. But now, not only is there no money, he's lost his job too. He's too proud. He refuses to ask for compensation. So what am I supposed to do now? I still want to buy that new bag. You think Liam won't give me money? Impossible. As long as he still feels responsible for my brother's life, There's no way he won't pay up. That idiot still feels indebted to our family, ha ha ha. Don't worry, I'll find a way to make him cough up the money. I couldn't listen anymore, my whole body trembling with rage. Leo said the money Liam earned from his jobs went to three main things. Part of it was to pay off his father's gambling debts, another part was for his grandfather's medical bills, and the rest he gave to Chloe. He spent next to nothing on himself. I heard from his classmates that Liam has been checking out psychology books from the library lately. If I were him, I'd be completely depressed. Leo abruptly cut himself off, then asked me, "Ava, what do we do now?" I didn't know what to do either. Liam never says anything. He keeps it all bottled up, like a silent, caged animal. He's always been so proud, bottling up every emotion, suffering in silence just to save face. I thought furiously and finally just said, "I'll give this to him." Still, Chloe's last few words had put me on alert. "I'm going to look into her brother's cause of death. Leo, I'm counting on you." "Sure thing. Leave it to me." I had planned on giving Liam the recording pen when he came for tutoring, but the butler told me Liam had asked for time off. Time off? What was the reason? He said it was a family emergency. I had to suppress my impatience, but then one day off turned into several, and he just disappeared. His phone was unreachable. I was getting antsy. After getting Liam's address from a teacher, I planned to go check on him after school. But then Maya came over with a stack of notebooks. "What's this?" "Notes from Liam. He said he was sorry for bailing on you and asked me to give these to you. They're specifically organized around the topics you struggle with." I ignored the second part of her sentence, asking urgently, "You saw him? Where is he?" "He just left them with the security guard and took off." "I don't know." Hearing that, I felt a pang of disappointment. Maya stared at me for a long moment, then said suddenly, "To be honest, even if no one else saw it, I always thought you two would end up together." I froze, looking up at her a little dazed. "What do you mean?" Maya rested her chin in her hand and looked out the window. "When you first transferred here in our freshman year, you didn't know anyone in class and had trouble making friends. Half a semester went by, and you were still all alone. You told me later how grateful you were that I took the initiative to be your deskmate. But the truth is, Liam was the one who came and bribed me with his notes." "Bribed you?" She hummed in agreement. "Surprising, isn't it? Liam and I actually went to elementary school together, but we were never close. To be precise, Liam isn't close with anyone. But he came to me that day and said he hoped I would become friends with you. I asked him why. He said, 'No one wants to be the one who doesn't fit in.'" Maya paused, then smiled. I knew he was really talking about himself. "But Ava, unlike you, Liam doesn't have a choice. And that time during the community service project, you lost the fountain pen your mother gave you. I wasn't actually the one who found it. Liam did. He went back that night with a flashlight and searched the grass for it, bit by bit. He almost got caught by the patrolling security guard. There's so much more, but he won't talk about it." Maya's words were like a stone dropped into a calm pool of water, the impact so heavy I couldn't process it for a long moment. All I could do was murmur, "I never knew." "Of course you didn't know," Maya chided, not holding back. "That guy's as tight-lipped as a clam. And since he wouldn't let me tell you, how could you have known anything?" "Then why wouldn't he tell me?" I asked, stubbornly needing an answer. But Maya just said, "Ava, not all feelings get the chance to be spoken aloud. Liam is used to suppressing everything, used to enduring this god-awful life. He's walked this road alone for so long that when someone suddenly falls from the sky and offers to walk with him, he needs a very, very long time just to convince himself to accept it. He's used to hiding his feelings. In all the time I've known him, I've rarely seen much emotion on his face. But Avalon," her eyes curved slyly, as if she'd remembered something amusing. "At the track meet, when you fell during the 800-meter race, I saw Liam jump straight down from the grandstand. But halfway there, he saw Leo had already picked you up and was carrying you to the nurse's office, so he had to pretend he was just passing by. It was the first time I'd ever seen him look so panicked and helpless, and he made me promise not to tell anyone. That was a side of Liam I had never known. He hid it so well that all this time, I thought he hated me." My throat suddenly tightened. "So why are you telling me now?" I asked, my voice hoarse. I've already gotten my early acceptance to college, so even if Liam wanted to silence me, he wouldn't be able to find me. Maya reached out and ruffled my hair, her voice suddenly softening. Besides, saying nothing wouldn't be fair to you. Or to him. Maya said Liam wasn't always so withdrawn. It started after his mom passed away. She thought for a moment, then said, "It's like he thinks he's unlucky, that he brings misfortune to the people around him." Misfortune. The word kept swirling in my head, right up until I was standing at the door of a worn-out room in a community hospital. Liam looked even thinner. He deftly changed the old man on the bed out of his soiled clothes and emptied the filth from the bedpan. Only after everything was cleaned up did he sit down to eat his cold sandwich. But he'd barely taken a few bites when the old man, who had been lying quietly, suddenly lashed out, knocking the food from his hand. Then, as Liam stood up to clean, the old man grabbed his arm and bit down hard. So hard that blood seeped out instantly. His exposed forearm was covered in a mix of new and old scars. But Liam just stood there, not even frowning, as if he were already used to it. I quickly called for a nurse and pulled Liam behind me. The nurse didn't seem surprised either. "You'll be happy when you've finally driven your grandson away and have no one left to take care of you, won't you?" "Good riddance," Liam's grandfather said, his eyelids drooping as he sneered. "Just looking at his face pisses me off. Eating. What right does he have to eat anything?" Another torrent of vile insults followed. And through it all, Liam stood there in silence, like a lifeless statue. It wasn't until I was about to take him to get his wound treated that he seemed to snap out of it, his eyelashes trembling slightly as he asked me, "What are you doing here?" "If I hadn't come, you'd be dead by now." I was frantic, a mix of anger and worry. In my past life, Liam's grandfather died early, so I never knew he treated Liam this horribly. "I won't die." Liam even managed a slight, humorless smile. "He can't torment me to death." "You know he's tormenting you, and you still stay to take care of him? Liam, are you out of your mind?" Liam fell silent. After his arm was treated, he told me to go home. "I'll probably have to break my promise to Mr. Hayes. I'll pay back the money. I've also organized all the key review topics in those notes. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask Maya." The harsh white light of the hallway fell on his face, but none of it reached his eyes. His tone was perfectly calm, so calm that a panic grew inside me. I grabbed his hand, desperate. "What about you? The college entrance exams are right around the corner. Don't you need to study? Don't you want to go to college anymore?" "Me?" Liam faltered, as if only now remembering to think about himself. He said slowly, I can hear in the hospital, "You're lying to me again." I cut him off, trying to pull him away. "That old man will never give you time to study. You're coming with me right now. If you're really that worried, I'll pay for a caregiver for him." But he didn't budge. Liam lowered his gaze, his eyes falling on our clasped hands. "Avalon," he said my name softly, his voice sounding like it was coming from a great distance. "That's my grandfather. He's the only family he has left. His mother is gone, and his gambling-addicted father disappeared without a trace. He's all he has. I've never had very good luck." The warmth in my grip faded as Liam gently pushed me away, his tone still mild. "So, you should stay away from me. Far away. It would be best if you never got involved with me at all." But his voice was trembling, an uncontrollable tremor. A wave of bitterness and sorrow surged in my chest. I looked at him and suddenly remembered what Maya had said. It's like he thinks he's unlucky. To hell with luck. The other families in the ward had all witnessed the grandfather's appalling behavior. When I went over, an older woman even grabbed my hand and said, "Honey, go talk some sense into that boy. Tell him not to stay and take care of that old man. He's a viper, miserable himself and determined to make the younger generation miserable, too." I nodded and agreed. The next day, I had them moved to a private room. When the old man exploded again, pointing his finger in Liam's face and cursing, I had the bodyguards take over what Liam was doing and forcibly lead him to the lounge area nearby. "The teacher asked me to bring you these worksheets and study guides. She said you don't have to come to school, but you have to finish these." Liam's struggling subsided. "Liam," I said, looking him in the eye, "if you want to rot away in this hospital, just say the word. If you even say no once, I won't stop you anymore. Liam lowered his head, and I couldn't see the look on his face. But you? After a long moment, his voice came out hoarse, tinged with a self-defeating air. You said you didn't like me anymore. I'm here as a friend now. It doesn't matter if you don't accept it, I said, then lowered my head and started on my own worksheets. Liam stood there for a moment before finally sitting down across from me. It's not that the old man didn't try to interfere with Liam's studying, but whenever he made the slightest sound, the bodyguard standing nearby would immediately shoot him a fierce glare. He was a coward who only picked on the weak, and after a few times he gave up. Liam was able to finish a whole set of worksheets without interruption, and the crease between his eyebrows softened a little. I'll take this to the teacher for you to get it graded. I gathered his papers, then added, I won't be coming tomorrow. His hand clutching the pen suddenly tightened. Liam's breath hitched for a moment, but he quickly composed himself. He nodded. It's better if you don't. Liam, a little honesty won't kill you. I glanced at him and scoffed. If you want me to come, just say so. Perhaps because I'd already seen him at his worst, Liam simply fell silent. I stared at the tips of his red ears and smiled. Leo's coming tomorrow. He heard you're a great tutor, so he's coming hoping you can help him out. Make sure you treat him well. Liam looked up, a flash of clear astonishment in his eyes. The second day was Leo, the third was Maya, the fourth was their class president, the fifth was me. We took turns coming, and the bodyguards took turns on duty. After more than a week, Liam successfully caught up with his review schedule. As for the old man, his spirits had withered considerably. When Liam stepped out to get hot water, the old man called out to me for the first time. But what he had to say wasn't pleasant. He's the reason his mother's dead. I was organizing my corrected homework and ignored him. The old man wasn't annoyed. He just chuckled and continued on his own. If he hadn't insisted on going out with his friends, his mom wouldn't have gotten into a car crash on the way to pick him up. My son wouldn't have fallen into such a deep depression, and he still won't come see me. And I never would have gotten this sick. Your son got addicted to gambling a long time ago, gambled away all the family's money, and disappeared to escape his debts. The reason he doesn't visit you is because he's heartless, and you getting sick is just karma. What does any of that have to do with Liam? I cut him off without even looking up. The old man's face turned livid. What do you know? If it weren't for that jinx. But this jinx you're talking about is the one paying your exorbitant medical bills every day. Otherwise, you'd have been dead long ago. This grandson of yours is the one sleeping only a few hours a night, so he can juggle taking care of you and studying. I stood up and looked at him, sneering. You want to destroy him, but I refuse to let you have your way. I'm going to make you watch as the very person you want to destroy gets better and better in a place you can never reach. The old man was livid with rage, his shriveled lips trembling, unable to form a complete sentence. I snorted and sat back down. A little while later, Liam returned to the room, his face a little pale. He calmly walked to the bedside and added water to the cup, but his hand was faintly trembling. I looked at his back. What took you so long? The hot water ran out, so I had to wait a bit. I just said, oh, and didn't think much of it. Liam sat down across from me, and the only sound in the room was the rustling of paper. But the silence was soon broken by a grating voice. Well, you little punk. So you've still got the money to put this old fossil in a private room. A middle-aged man, face covered in stubble and reeking of alcohol, suddenly burst in. His bloodshot eyes scanned me as he let out a malicious laugh. So this is the rich little Miss Chloe was talking about? Heard you've taken a liking to my boy, have you? Good. We'll all be family then. I frowned. Liam was in front of me in an instant. Ignoring the man, he shoved a stack of papers into my hand and said in a low voice, Go home. But I was still thinking about the Chloe the man had mentioned. Of course it was her. What are you doing? The man, Callahan, shoved Liam, clearly annoyed. A classmate is finally willing to be friends with you. What's wrong with letting family meet her? Get lost. Liam glared at him, speaking one word at a time. Or I'll kill you. Ha 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 ha. The man laughed as if he'd heard the funniest joke in the world. He ignored Liam completely and grinned at me. Little lady, is my son taking good care of you? I don't want much. Just $1 million and you can take the boy. Before he could finish, Liam's fist smashed into his face. No one saw it coming. Like a cornered animal, Liam lunged, fighting as if for his life. His movements were fast and vicious. The bodyguards rushed to pull him off. But even with all the commotion, the old man on the hospital bed didn't make a sound, his eyes shut tight. Then, in the chaos, the man, spewing curses, broke free from the bodyguards and charged at me. Something silver glinted in his hand. His face twisted into a savage grin. If my life is hell, I'm dragging you down with me. I stood frozen, the small knife gleaming coldly under the pale white lights. Die, he screamed, his face contorted, as the tip of the knife plunged toward my chest. But the pain I expected never came. A sickening squelch, the sound of a blade sinking into flesh. A warm hand suddenly covered my eyes, and my world went black. I heard Liam's breathing grow ragged by my ear, followed by a choked groan. "Don't look," he said. "Don't be afraid. Be good now. Close your eyes. Just go to sleep. It'll all be okay." The screech of tires and the man's wild laughter faded, and then all sound receded like the tide, leaving the world in dead silence. "Liam!" The familiar sensation made me shatter. I instinctively grabbed his arm, my body racked with such violent tremors I could barely stand. "You can't die. I forbid you to die, do you hear me?" My voice was a desperate sob. Thankfully, the knife ended up in Liam's shoulder. Once he was out of the ER, I couldn't stop staring at him. I didn't even blink, terrified that if I did, he'd disappear. My staring made Liam squirm. He finally turned his head away, his voice a low, almost pleading whisper. "Don't look at me." I ignored him, firmly insisting he stay in the hospital room and rest. He was quiet for a long time before he asked, "What about that man?" "I called the cops. They took him away." He seemed to let out a sigh of relief. I tried to coax him into resting, then resorted to a threat. "If you don't sleep, I'll just keep staring at you until you do." He just started to relax, but he instantly flushed beet red. He sighed in resignation and finally gave in. But his eyes stayed open, his dark pupils reflecting the stark white light of the hospital room, as if he were afraid he'd fall into a nightmare the moment he closed them. I reached out, just like I had not long ago, or maybe in another life, and gently covered his eyes. "Close your eyes," I commanded. His lashes brushed against my palm, a faint tickle. Liam finally let his eyes drift shut. But it wasn't long before a commotion broke out in the hallway outside. Lying on the bed, he listened quietly for a moment, then asked with his eyes still closed, "Did someone jump?" You see a lot of people who've lost hope in a hospital. I paused. Either way, they're strangers. Liam just hummed in response and didn't ask anything else. I glanced down at my phone. There was a new text from one of the bodyguards. Mr. Callahan pulled his son off the roof with him. Long press. Delete. Strangers indeed. I was going to call the police, but the old man, who had been completely unresponsive until then, suddenly stopped the bodyguards. After a long silence, he looked up and asked me, "This illness of mine, can it be cured?" My expression was blank. "It can't. Just wait to die. Then let me trade a secret for a little time with my son." He let out a breath, as if a heavy burden had been lifted, and said calmly, "Just half an hour. After half an hour, he's all yours." And why would I agree to that? Liam's mother's death had nothing to do with him. I agreed. I gave him half an hour. He took that good-for-nothing son of his to the rooftop, saying they needed to talk, just the two of them. The bodyguards waited right by the door. In the end, he took his son and jumped. Neither of them survived. But we couldn't keep it from Liam for long. One afternoon, I found him on the rooftop. He was standing on the edge of the railing, his thin hospital gown whipping in the wind. "Is this where they jumped?" he asked without turning around, speaking to himself. "It's a shame I didn't get to see it. They got off easy." "Liam," I called, "come here." He actually listened and came over. I grabbed his hand, clutching it so tightly my fingertips ached with fear. But Liam just laughed. He comforted me softly. "I'm not going to jump. I haven't gotten into college yet." I was so scared I couldn't speak. All I could do was grab his hand like an outlet for my fear and bite down hard. "Gently." Liam touched my hair with his other hand, but pulled away almost instantly. He coaxed me with a smile, That hurts. I still didn't let go, and Liam let me be. But the smile on his face slowly faded. He stared into space as if in a daze, and after a long moment, he said softly, "Avalon, I don't have any family left." His voice was so quiet that the wind on the rooftop shattered at the moment it left his lips. I know none of them liked me. My mom, she was pretty good to me. She said that once I got into college, she'd be able to live a good life with me. This time, Liam paused for a long while, as if preparing himself. Then, bit by bit, he tore open a long-healed wound and showed it to me, raw and bleeding. I was always obedient. That time, I just won first place in a competition, and my mom asked what I wanted as a reward. I told her a friend had invited me to hang out. He was the first friend I'd ever made. His voice suddenly grew incredibly strained. My mom said yes, but she got into a car accident on the way to pick me up. She died. Maybe I really am just someone who brings bad luck. People who are good to me never live long. Chloe's brother, too. If it weren't for him saving me, he wouldn't have died. You're not. I finally found my voice. I cupped his face in my hands, forcing him to meet my eyes. I'm good to you, and I'm alive and well, and I plan on living a long, long life. And your mom didn't die because she was coming to get you. She was abandoning you that day, running away from that family. She had all her things packed. She just happened to get into an accident on the way. Liam, listen to me. Her death had nothing to do with you. Liam's pupils contracted sharply. Chloe's brother didn't die saving you either. He took you to the river on purpose. He knew you couldn't swim, so he planned to pretend to save you, to make you indebted to him. He was deep in gambling debt, and was going to make you pay it off for him. I took out 2 audio recorders, one from the old man and one from Chloe. Liam calmly turned on the recorders, listening to them over and over until the batteries were completely drained. I stayed right there with him, listening along with him, again and again. Avalon, he called my name suddenly. Tell me, he asked, his voice lost, how can a person's life be such a ridiculous joke? Sometimes fate is just an asshole. I thought about it seriously for a moment, but it doesn't get to define who you are. So, you can fight back with everything you've got. A real asshole. Liam started to laugh, a low chuckle that grew louder and louder until it turned into heart-wrenching, dry heaves. Twilight settled in, and the last ray of sunset gilded the side of his face in gold. Liam, my mom ran away too. I tilted my head back to watch the sunset with him. She didn't love my dad, and she didn't love me, so she dumped me with him early on. But I'm luckier than you. My dad loves me a lot. His way of loving me is to give me everything he has. I got used to it, and I learned to treat the people I care about the same way. It might be a little annoying, but until you learn to be brave, you're just going to have to put up with it. Liam didn't say a word. Finally, I got up, a little impatient, and held out my hand. The soup I brought is getting cold. I'm hungry. You want to go down and eat? He looked up at me. Fine, don't eat then. I pretended to pull my hand back, but he caught it a second later. First, our fingertips touched tentatively, then, little by little, his hand closed tightly around mine. I waited patiently. Okay. I wasn't sure which question he was answering. Liam looked down, the tips of his ears turning red. He said in a low voice, I'm hungry. Then let's eat. Nothing's more important than food. Okay. Liam is a very strong person. I've always known that. Liam didn't let me interfere any further with the Chloe situation. All I knew was that he got most of his money back, and Chloe dropped out of school. Later, Rio told me that Chloe had somehow gotten on the wrong side of some street thugs, had her leg broken, and was taken back to her hometown by her mom. He sighed. Guess it takes a bad guy to take down another bad guy. Ever since Liam started tutoring Rio and helped him raise his score by 50 points, Rio's opinion of him had completely changed. From then on, he was firmly convinced that Liam was his brother from another mother, a poor, tragic soul with a pure heart, and he wouldn't let anyone say a bad word about him. I glanced at Rio, not having the heart to tell him there was a 99% chance his pure-hearted, good brother was behind the whole thing. Liam came back to school, and he hadn't fallen behind in his studies at all. In fact, since he no longer had to work part-time, He even snatched the top spot in our grade from Maya a few times. Everything went smoothly until the college entrance exam results came out. Rio finally scored high enough to get into a university in the same city as Maya. He was so excited he hugged Liam and cried for what felt like forever. The three of them would be in the same city. As for me, I was going to Italy, according to my father's arrangements. After my mother left, my father always felt like he owed me. After finding out I was almost hurt because of Liam, he developed a strong dislike for him and had already arranged everything for my future far in advance. I didn't refuse, because that was also one of the regrets from my past life. On the day I left, even Maya, who was out of town, rushed back to see me off. Rio tearfully clutched my hand, wanting to say a few more words, but Maya grabbed him by the collar and dragged him away. I thought you'd be the most talkative one today. I pretended to be displeased, frowning and shaking my head. Liam, I'm very disappointed in you. My teasing made him laugh. Unlike in my past life, in this one, it seemed easy for him to smile around me. Then, as an apology, I'll tell you a secret. What secret? I was instantly intrigued. One day during the summer after sophomore year, I suddenly had this intense urge to see you. How intense? Intense enough that I begged Maya to sneak me into your gated community, and I waited outside your front gate, hoping for a chance to see you. But you were on vacation abroad at the time. Maya asked me if I still wanted to see you. Liam paused, a hint of helplessness in his eyes. How could I? I had just paid off a small part of my debt. All the money I had to my name wasn't even enough for a plane ticket to where you were. That's when I knew. I was too far away from you, so far that I might never be able to catch up, no matter how hard I tried for the rest of my life. That was definitely a secret I didn't know. The boarding call sounded. I'm about to go abroad now, and I don't know when I'll be back. I took a deep breath, my heart starting to beat faster. I stared at Liam and asked him earnestly, so in the future, will you be able to save up enough for a plane ticket? As I waited, the clamor of the airport seemed to fade away. And this time, I finally got Liam's answer. He said, more than one. Avalon, I like you. The I'm in love with you kind of like. The love I had only glimpsed in that cold document could finally, at this moment, see the light of day. Liam's side story. The first thing Liam did when he got home was start cooking. The second was to clean up. The last was to sit on the sofa and quietly wait for Avalon to come home. He waited, and he waited, until it was dark. She's probably not coming home again, Liam thought. It wasn't anyone's fault. No one could stand living with someone like him. Avalon had already done more than enough. He sighed and stood up to clear the dishes from the table. But just as he moved, he heard the sound of the lock turning. Liam's eyes lit up instantly. Avalon. But something was strange about Avalon today. Her face was pale, her eyes red. Did someone bully her? Liam frowned, instinctively moving toward her to ask. But Avalon walked straight through his body and headed for the study. Through his body? Liam froze. It took him a long moment to realize. Oh, right. I'm already dead. The experience of being a soul after death was novel, but soon, Liam's mind was once again filled with nothing but Avalon. Was she crying because of him? He was curious, so he followed her. And then he witnessed the mortifying scene of Avalon opening the encrypted document on his computer. Liam. His entire spiritual form flushed red from his feet to his head. If you asked him what his biggest regret was, the current Liam would answer without hesitation. Not deleting that document completely. Avalon, stop reading. But not only did she not stop, she read through it page by page, with the utmost seriousness, as tears rolled down her cheeks. Liam instantly forgot his embarrassment. He frantically tried to wipe her tears away, his voice taking on a pleading tone. Avalon, please don't cry, okay? But he had forgotten again that he was dead. The tears passed through his palm, soaking into the carpet drop by drop. Avalon couldn't hear his voice either, so she kept crying. When she was tired of crying, she hugged the laptop and sat in a corner of the study, asking in a small voice, Liam, why did you say I was your greatest regret? She had seen the last page. Because she couldn't hear him, Liam answered her with perfect earnestness this time. Because I love you more than anyone. But it seemed that anyone he liked, anyone who loved him, never came to a good end. So he'd change it to regret. Liam had thought that since he was dead, he might as well take the opportunity to say all the things he hadn't said for years. But then he worried, what if his fate was truly that terrible? What if it affected him even as a soul? And so, even a simple, "I love you," he only dared to say once. Even his embrace was just a phantom one, barely there, for fear of tainting her with his bad luck. They say the 3 best things in life are a promotion, a fortune, and a dead husband. Liam looked down at the now sleeping Avalon and whispered earnestly, "You've already got 2 of them now, so don't be sad anymore." But Avalon wouldn't listen. She was stubborn, wanting to know the whole truth. Liam could only follow her helplessly, watching as she grew more and more silent after learning everything, his heart aching with his powerlessness. "What she said is fake. I didn't have it that bad back then. Don't listen to this doctor's nonsense. My illness wasn't that serious. Doctors love to exaggerate. She was never my one true love. I already paid back all my debts. Avalon, you should have thrown those transfer records right in her face." During that time, Liam said more than he had in his entire life combined. It was as if he was repaying the debt for all the times Avalon had called him a closed book. But Avalon, the creditor, couldn't hear or see him. She continued to do what she wanted, and on an ordinary afternoon, she avenged Liam. "Let's do it over," Liam heard himself say, though he didn't know who he was speaking to. "Do it over, and don't come near me again. Don't fall in love with me again. Don't have anything to do with me. She only needs to remember that I am her greatest regret. Liam Callahan's greatest regret is Avalon Hayes. I love her, but she never needs to know.